Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Ocean Click TV, where you just click, watch, and connect. For today's live episode, because today is actually, according to the UN, it's World Water Day. So us being Ocean Click, we really wanted to make sure that we have a special episode for today. So, we want to talk about technology and the environment and how these two can work together to create a sustainable future. And because of that, that's why I've invited together here with me are some of, uh, they are very passionate in their advocacy in terms of the environment. But then at the same time, we now are at this point wherein we use technology for this advocacy. So everyone already knows Hope.
Hello, it's me
uh,
again.
yes, thank you for joining us tonight. So Hope you were also part of the group that really fought for um, the no to the reclamation
That's
uh,
right.
campaign. And then right now, tonight, together with us is Ratzel Salvarita. And just as fun fact, he was the student government president in our university and he assigned me as the chairperson for the students' rights and welfare committee. So, hi, it has been quite a while since we last
Yeah,
talked.
yeah, yeah, definitely. It's good to see
Hi,
everyone again.
Raz.
Hi, Hope. Hi,
So,
Yes,
Spring.
hi, Rats, and to everyone watching. We've been together way back in college, like as I think we are not the same year
actually,
level, right?
as far as I can remember, Raz was my senior and I was your senior, so it was like that
Yes.
generation. Yes,
Yeah,
Okay.
that we still were like we still met each other in campus. We are all
yeah,
mass communication graduates. So, Raz, can you tell us a little bit about your advocacy right now?
All right. Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Raz Salvarita. I'm currently based on the island of Panay in the Philippines, and I'm working currently with an organization called Earth Mob Global, and I'm the coordinator for Southeast Asia. They're based in Australia, and we will be launching this project in May, also in time for the month also of the ocean. But also currently I have an organization here. I'm based in a farm community, and we started this organization called Barrio Balangao Creative Initiatives. Barrio means tiny village in Spanish, and Balangao means uh, rainbow in our local dialect. And we see ourselves as this tiny rainbow village, bringing and uplifting also the sense of hope, especially during the time of the pandemic, because it started during that time. It was designed to be a program for creative recovery, especially for our community here in the farm, working with women farm workers. And now we're also focusing on women and girls in the heart of climate action. So next week we will be pursuing this school campaign that will be highlighting the works of the teens that we are and also the student leaders that we are training to become advocates also for climate justice. So yeah, but somehow I also fuse my work with arts, environment, and spirit vitality because somehow in the work that we do, I feel that these three things are very interconnected to also help and supplement the well-being of people, of all of us. And as you mentioned, we'll be talking about technology and environment. And this is where we can also see how creative designs can really support the environmental justice, environmental actions for sustainability as well.
So you mentioned technology, right? So right now, as per your experience, what is the impact of tech on the environment?
Oh, I think this kind of conversation, we
Mhm.
may need to talk, like really, because it's so vast, the spectrum
Yes,
of
true.
Very
impact of
vast indeed.
technology with the environment. But somehow, if we look at technology for good, there's always the basis for supporting humanity in terms of using technology. Be- while on the other hand, a lot of our technological equipments come from the environment also. So like we think, for example, of lithium battery that supports this small phone that I'm using right now.
Mhm.
Lithium is, can sustain energy, and as much as possible, a lot of companies, especially big companies, are trying to really integrate their environmental status in terms of their corporate social responsibility. But
Yes.
somehow, like we think of lithium coming from, let's say, some parts of Latin America where it's being mined, and, like mountains are being destroyed just to get this precious object to support our
Yeah.
phones. But at the end of the day, it's asking ourselves how can be responsible, let's say, of using the phone so it can sustain also our communication for a much longer time, so we don't have to, um, buy new phones or something. Just make sure that it's being sustained very well. So in a lot of ways, the impact it may not be as visible to a lot of people, but because we are all users of technology, definitely there's bigger impact with with very unconscious, let's say, corporations that affects in the environment. But I believe also in a lot of actions of companies, and even
Mhm.
institutions, and even grassroots
Yeah.
communities that are really catering to support sustainability and environmental protection.
And this is really one of the reasons why we are doing this right now, because as a corporation, we do want to be part of the community that ensures that our technology and the environment can work together, right? So that's why we are asking these questions, because we, as a corporation, we do want to learn. We do want to know how we can do better, and what practices that we are doing right now that we can improve on to be better.
Uh-huh.
Um, so yeah, one example you mentioned was about the phones that we're using and all that, because right now everyone's on their phone,
Yes, that's true.
right? Because of social media, this and that. So, um, any advice as to, because we also are using that in terms of doing social media marketing or community building in social media. So, in any advice on how we can minimize or be conscious?
Probably more
Yeah,
conscious and responsible
Yes,
in the
conscious and
use
yeah,
of
responsible. Yeah.
yeah. I the way I see the setup, let's say with your corporation, it's a matter also of really incorporating environmental policies in your
mm,
system, so that your the people that works within the company and even clients can have that sense of consciousness in terms of what environmental practices can be done. For example, the
mm,
basic thing, before there was a campaign called "Kick the Habit," by unplugging appliances, because even though it's plugged, there's the ghost electricity that runs. Simple as utilizing LED lights, for example, to have low
Mhm,
wattage for
mhm.
light, but then you still have efficiency.
mm,
Opening windows, or like just even even your space, your building can be designed in a way that it can be really efficient, because especially we live in the tropical countries, we have the sun all the
Yeah.
time. We have, bright lights and everything, so it can be really sustained. And also, practices with your teams. One thing I found effective also is exposing your teams for
Mhm.
outdoor activities, and I believe that probably in your corporation you imbibe that, because you're placed in a location where you can easily go to the ocean, and you can go to the
Yes.
beach, you can go to the
That's right.
mountains. So I feel somehow it can incorporate the sense of well-being also for the person, because
Mm,
I feel that once each of us have a sense of beauty, have a sense of appreciation of our nature, there's
Mhm.
always that kind of emotion that will bring a sense
Yes.
of responsibility and protection towards it. So I feel that when that can be incorporated in your practices, that can really be helpful.
yeah,
So
that's right.
that was like how we can, like what our part is in terms of how we can be part of the solution, right? But um, the other side, how can we use technology to combat climate change?
Okay. Wow, this is very interesting because, like, when you think of climate change, it's really that it's more than probably, probably more than a thousand years of impact, and
Yeah.
and the
Mhm.
the change is the change basically is kind of natural, but because of the rapid growth
Yes.
of the industry and the impact of the greenhouse gases and a
Mm,
lot of demands for the use of fossil fuels, obviously it's sort of like really drum up the temperature in the atmosphere and affecting
Mhm.
all of us, that are basically, living on planet Earth. But somehow, in terms of new technologies that can really be helpful. I think of it in our setting, let's say in the Philippines, or it could be anywhere in the world where a lot of typhoons, a lot of natural disasters are already happening. So when
Mhm.
technology can be utilized to support precautionary measures to eventually lessen damages,
mm-hmm.
especially for loss of lives, um, I feel that, we can sort of like, it's more adaptation rather than really
Mhm.
finding a means to solve the climate crisis, because climate change is ever growing, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day it's demanding, basically
That
our
is right.
governments, and also
Mhm.
really putting pressure to big companies, especially those that are banking on fossil fuels, to really think of renewable technologies, renewable energies, where they can utilize for power sourcing of a lot of companies. So I feel like even yeah, and the way I see it, it's
Mhm.
the small corporations, the small startups are the ones that are really trying to make sure that they are going
Mhm.
green. And it's
Yeah.
good because when a lot of these small pockets of organizations and corporations are doing it, I feel that it also supports the idea that local households can eventually do their own share as
True.
well of transforming their power, let's say, to solar panels and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel that, we don't really have to wait for big organizations, companies to do the
That's right.
thing, because
Mhm.
when you can start it on your own and model it for your teams and, fellows there to follow suit, I feel like it will be effective in at least combating the climate crisis. But it's really, we are at the tipping point, so it's we are endangering our lives, but somehow we try to adapt and hopefully sustain ourselves with what,
That's
however
right.
we can.
When you say
Yeah.
tipping point, can you expand more about that? Just so in
Y-
case we have some people who'll be watching this in the future and like, so, you
yeah,
know, I know
yeah, well,
it's we don't have enough
Scary.
time for the whole, but just
yeah, that's
a bit
true.
of
Yeah, well, yeah.
summary.
I mean, it's very scientific, but somehow,
Mhm.
just like I think it was yesterday that the International Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, put out a report. that it stated that within 2030, the temperature of the planet will really go crazy, that it will totally affect basically the balance of our ecological system.
Mhm.
So when we say tipping point, it's really like, that kind of the threshold where the danger is gonna be felt fully in a way. But I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
are feeling it, but somehow because there seems to be a certain consciousness that's kind of blocking that sense of reality of the reality of climate change. But somehow the tipping point, we are seeing it. You see iceberg, you see glaciers just
Mhm.
kind of
Yes.
melting. You see
Mhm.
wildfires happening in Australia. You see all of these super typhoons
Mhm.
coming in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
So we're already in that kind of, we're already there. But the tipping point will eventually really push us to the limit of danger. So
Yeah,
it's,
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes
it's
it's a
really
wild idea
there.
to think about it. Yeah,
we can feel
but
it already here in the Philippines, like
We felt it here, right
the
here
long month of
in
rain.
where we
Yeah,
are.
terrible.
yeah,
Um,
that's true.
Not
And the,
last year, but the year ago, we had that typhoon
the typhoon. Yeah,
here in
that was,
Dumaguete City that it was quite scary. We used our office to be kind of like a bunker. So instead of telling our agents not to
Uh-huh.
come to work, we asked them to come
Yeah.
to work so that they can stay inside the building, which was more
Uh-huh.
secure
Yeah.
than we don't know
Yes.
individual
Yes.
houses. So
that's
what we
right.
did, because
Yeah.
there was no electricity, no internet,
Uh-huh.
um, we had like we blankets and pillows, and as a company we were just there inside our office
Uh-huh.
building, and we
Yeah.
made it like as our safe
That's
house.
true. So I feel also
Yeah,
that with this kind of, with this kind of setting that we are right now, I feel that we have to look into disaster risk reduction management as
mm-hmm.
part
Mm-hmm.
also of the corporation's policy, and
Mm-hmm.
also precautionary measure, because somehow you can, as you did mention, you can utilize that space really as a hub even for like rescue operations and things like that, and it can be
That's
accommodated
right.
also as a space even for let's say as a communication hub for networking, rescues and things like that. So in a lot of ways, I feel like we have to just equip ourselves with the readiness that anytime disaster strikes, we can be of service also as people, but as also as corporations as well.
That's
Yeah.
right. And in fact, I think it's good that you mentioned that because when you say we need to combat climate change through technology, I think it's about time that technology will really be utilized to help the environment. Because after all, we have the technology because of the environment and all these
Yeah,
materials that were created, that were used to create all these technology were really
yeah,
we came from the environment. And I think it's about time that we really make use of all these new creations to somehow
yeah,
also protect the environment, as to pay forward,
yeah.
also to pay back actually.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So um you know we are here in the Philippines, wherein our carbon footprint is not as massive as other countries, but
Yeah.
for those countries who do have like massive carbon footprint, what can you say they can do to be part of the solution?
Oh, there. I feel like I've attended some UN
Mhm.
meetings
Yeah.
on
Mhm.
climate change, and they've been really the hard-headed countries, because they protect their own resources, while also
Mhm.
exploiting resources, especially from developing countries.
Mhm.
So this is really where the tricky bit comes from in terms of how can we sustainably and
Mm.
work together as a global community of humanity. But somehow there's always
Yeah.
that question of injustices, the question of equity,
Mm.
the question of unequal rights of especially indigenous communities. But somehow when I think about it, I talk with farmers here, I talk with children here where I live or in the farm community. And when I was in Germany last year, I went to a place where it was a UNESCO site for a coal. It's basically a heritage site because of the coal mining industry that's been there for more than 100 years. And somehow,
Mm.
if you think about it, the effect of the coal from that place, it was burned for like how many years, and obviously it's still hanging out there in the atmosphere. And then here comes the farmer here in the farm who's also been doing his farming for the last so many years, probably 50 years, and he
Mm.
can really pinpoint years where the yield was so low, where there was a big typhoon, where
Mhm.
there's drought, where there's too much rain, and somehow he cannot kind of connect that with the coal site that produced basically the carbon and the greenhouse emissions up in the air, up in the atmosphere that basically affects the simple farmer here in the Philippines. So somehow when we get to schools to talk about climate change, we incorporate the local experience of the local people here and connect it with the reality that because of the industrial revolution, it's still affecting us right now. So it's very tricky for big countries
Mm.
to do something about it because really at the end of the day, it's the resources and everything. Um, but somehow I always think of I always think of the words of Dr. Ben Malayang
Mhm.
when he told me before that environmental environmental problems are emotional, environmental
Mhm.
solutions are technical, and environmental decisions are political. And this is what we're talking about right now. When
Mhm.
can we fully engage big countries, the basically the global polluters, emitters of greenhouse gases,
Yeah.
to really act in terms of political will to reduce their. It's very tricky, but hopefully we will have
Yeah.
the critical mass to really push forward our voices to make a change in the
So for
international
those,
level.
sorry, for those, like, let's say people in those countries, how can they, as individuals, be a part of the solution?
Oh yeah. Well, I know like in let's say in the a lot of
Mhm.
activists are activating their own communities to voice out concerns and also
Mhm.
really push their governments to change policies so that it can help reduce their emissions. If you talk about China, it's a totally different level because of the political setting. But you have also India that is really coming. It's like it's gonna be the next super power probably country in terms of technological advances, technology,
Mhm.
Yeah.
uh, and things like that. So hopefully, somehow the people in these countries will be able to really push their own government to um, to shift to a much eco-friendly and sustainable energy
Energy.
sources because at the end of the day it's really getting power to obviously power our houses, power our phones, power our computers, power our technology. So um, it's really a big call to action to demand
Mhm.
the big polluters to shift and change their um, ways of dealing with with the world.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very
And
interesting. It's very interesting because we just mentioned about technology's impact on the environment and how we can use technology to combat climate change, and that's what's actually happening. These countries are the big polluters, and they also have the big technologies that could
Yeah,
be used to also somehow combat this. So I hope they really listen.
yeah, I hope so. I mean,
for sorry, from my end, I do believe, like, from what I'm hearing from Rats, a lot of advocacy work needs to be done.
uh-huh.
Uh,
Hmm.
and I do think that having this technology of communicating outside our countries, outside our communities, we don't have to fly using
So far.
jets
Yeah,
and planes, or but we're able to reach out to them and share our experiences in our communities and have a global discussion through the use of
Because of
technology in
technology.
our advocacy. Like right
Correct.
now, even
Like
if
what we're doing right
that's,
now.
yes, is far away and we're here, we are still able to, have this
That's
discussion
right.
and
We are in
hopefully
the we are in the city while Raz is in the middle of the island with the farmers, but technology connects us just to talk about this advocacy, and it's great.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So yeah, it's a matter of really utilizing technology for good, because at the end of the day, it can really support also the needed traction to push for a much sustainable use of resources and power, basically. Yeah.
and I do believe, I'm not sure if this is the same in other places, but since I have a 13-year-old, he's quite aware as to what's happening in the environment. I believe, like, that their generation is actually using technology and what they've learned, what they've heard from other countries and the experiences of other countries to make it's making them more aware as to what's happening right now. And it makes me happy to hear this from the younger generation. I don't know what's their generation now. Is it Gen Z or
Z, I
Gen
guess. Oh,
Alpha? I'm not sure. I have to
I'm
Google
a
that.
millennial. I think we're millennial.
So because they are also the generation of technology, right? It's their
Yeah.
generation where there's this sudden surge of this, yeah, the technology that we currently have. So hopefully they do utilize it, that they are mindful of the environment as well. But um, Ratzel, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I know there's more. Like, it's a huge topic that, even an hour a day or a week is not enough to discuss everything about it. But
Yeah.
before I let you go, uh, is there anything you would like to share with us about your advocacy and with what you're doing right now?
Yeah. Well, right now, it's March, and we're celebrating Women's Month in the. So part of our project here on in the farm is basically an environmental school campaign where we highlight the works of women and girls in the heart of climate action, and also eventually really utilizing creative means of communication to be able to translate and also relay the concept of climate change, and also really asking each individuals to respond to climate justice so that it becomes an individual responsibility and also an individual journey to address these kinds of experiences that they may observe in their own household, in their own environment, wherever they go. At the end of the day, they become more active and hopefully participative in terms of demanding for a much healthier, sustainable future. So that's basically our words from this part of the country. So
All
thank you so
right.
much for. I hope we will see both of you once again very soon.
Yeah, I do hope we see you soon. I mean, it's not that far to ride a sailboat or something similar from your island to where we are now. um, but yeah, kidding aside, thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to join us and talk about technology and the environment. And we will also be sharing this in all of our social media pages. So we will be, this is live right now, but we will be editing it and we'll be sharing snippets of this live episode to our audience in our different platforms. All right. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank you so much, everyone. And
Thank
next
you.
week, we'll have another live episode. We will be announcing what the topic would be soon. So please stay tuned or, please continue supporting our social media pages. Thank you so much, Rats. Thank you so much, Hope, for joining me this morning. And once again, click, watch, and connect. This has been Springzale Daniel, and you were watching Ocean Click TV.